Welcome to the May 11th, 2021 episode of Reactive Consciousness, the in-depth podcast about what happened this week in our lives, not your lives. I'm your host, vysethebold, and this is...
Technically, it happened in their lives as well.
No. Alright.
Oh, okay.
Maybe.
In that case, I'm Lotus Prince.
And, not Pyro Jack Frost, not Dracologist, not Old Man Stumpy, not Vagabond.
It's true, I'm not any of those people.
If you try hard enough, maybe.
Yeah, one day.
One day. God willing.
Yep.
So, we actually had a really interesting week this week in terms of the news. The first one to cap it off is kind of a bummer. I don't know like how I don't know if you knew this crew or not, but I considered it very big news in terms of the gaming world. And I absolutely listened to this podcast for a good long time. I didn't stop for any particular reason. I just just kind of fell off of it, but I really liked it when I did listen to it. So the Giant Bomb cast is now going to lose 3 of its tenured hosts: Vinny Caravella, Alex Navarro, and Brad Shoemaker. Along with they are leaving the website and everything too. Jeff Gerstmann is remaining. I think it's a big bummer, especially considering that Giant Bomb really built its format on the personalities that it's hired. Unlike any other outlet out there, you go to something like the big outlets, which basically consist of GameSpot and IGN and Polygon and Kotaku and little else, I would say. I don't think they get it right. Giant Bomb saw, when Jeff Gerstmann started Giant Bomb, he saw that the reason why YouTubers were really taking over as the primary form of really games journalism as a whole was because it was personality-led. People liked the people that they were watching and listening to. And Giant Bomb put a focus on that. Its editors, these people, were the reason why you came there. It wasn't because they had exclusive content or anything like that. They had the most reviews or anything like that. It's because you knew who the reviews were coming from. You heard their discussion on a weekly basis, and they were also funny as hell. So it was really they were very intelligent. They also Jeff Gerstmann is one of the pioneers of honest games journalism, and has been for a long time. I mean, that's the whole reason why Giant Bomb is even a thing, is because he got fired for telling the truth. That I think it was Army of Two, or was it Kane and Lynch 2? Yeah, I think it was Kane and Lynch 2 he just said it was straight up a bad game.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know anything about this particular review you're talking about,
yeah.
But I can say that I've heard just Kane and Lynch 2. I heard it from Yahtzee of Zero Punctuation. It was just like the worst.
Yeah, and the thing was, I think he was working for GameSpot at the time, and what ended up happening was they had recently had a big turnover in their corporate structure. Like, there was new bosses and things, and there was pressure from the publisher of Kane and Lynch 2, which I think was Eidos at the time, to because they were probably their biggest advertisers at the time, for them to change the review. And Jeff, typically, the magazine backs up the editor or the reviewer and says, no, the review is the review.
Yeah, and if you want us to give a better review, then make a better game.
Exactly. And, they put up a front, and, they... Usually it goes back and forth, and usually, the publisher threatens, to take away exclusives or whatever, but usually gets resolved.
That's the kind of thing I would just publicly disclose.
Yeah.
Like publisher threatens me to, like, with not giving me review copies of games if I don't lie about their game. Like, I would just like
Yeah.
air that whole thing out in public.
Yeah, and that'll damage their credibility across the board, which is never a good idea. So, give them an honest review. And Jeff Gerstmann straight up was told twice to change his review, and he didn't do it. And he came out on a video review and just straight up said everything that he thought about the game, which was all accurate. And he promptly got fired. And then he set up Giant Bomb with a few other people, notably Ryan Davis was another big part of the website, and unfortunately he's passed since. But he was a big part of Giant Bomb as well. And these guys have been there basically since the beginning. There have been a few other awesome, really cool people there. Dan Reichert is one of my favorites. He was funny as hell. And he's working for WWE now, I think. And there was also Drew Scanlon, who is the blinking guy. that happened. like the GIF, the GIF of the blonde blinking guy. When something shocking happens, somebody posts that. That kind of
I'm
thing.
not 100% sure I know what that is.
It's one of the most famous GIFs. Let me see if I can bring it up. Blonde blinking guy. It's you would know it if you saw it. Let's just put it that way.
Okay, but anyway, moving on.
But anyway, he I'm gonna send this over to you just so you can see it. But maybe you could describe it a little bit better. But yeah, the Giant Bombcast.
Oh, okay. No, I do know what you mean. All right.
It's one of the most famous memes.
Yeah, for a second I was picturing the Nathan Fillion one where he looks like he's about to say something and he's like, like that one.
From Doctor Horrible's sing-along blog.
I guess that's what it's from. I only saw that once.
Yeah. But this is like a big thing, and Giant Bomb has since been bought by the same parent company that fired him. Which is hilarious.
Okay, well, is that why the three people left?
So there's speculation of that. They just announced
that's
this.
Not a good look. It's not like, well, I got life stuff, I gotta move on. Like, three key people leave at the same time.
Which makes me think that they're going to start up their own thing. They haven't said so, but those three guys could totally carry a new platform on their own. Jeff Gerstmann, of course, is the Rock, but these three guys on their own would be popular as individuals, let alone as a group. So I think they're all three of them are probably leaving, and you'll probably see a Patreon led new venture by those three, if I'm gonna guess. But I am absolutely certain that this is partially due to the fact that Giant Bomb was bought by CBS Media Group, I think. And Jeff Gerstmann is the founder of Giant Bomb, so I think that's probably why he's staying. But
if anything, you'd think he's like, was he the one who was fired in the first place?
He was the one that was fired.
You'd think he'd be the one guy to leave or not sell.
Well, he sold his stake in it, obviously. If they were bought, so he was probably guaranteed some form of creative control if he was going to be on the website, and maybe the other three guys were not, or maybe they figure they can make more money elsewhere because Jeff isn't paying them anymore, which is also reasonable. But I think these three guys have enough clout, have enough chops, and are entertaining enough to be on to do their own thing. Either together or on their own. So I think it'll be really great. Patrick Klepek was another name that was part of them, and they're all good dudes. Like it's one of those situations where usually you have at least one or two jerks in the bunch. Like all of them were really cool people. Um, like did a lot of things for charities and things like that. Ran some really cool, um, streams that they did all the time. Um, there, there are just some really classic podcast episodes from them as well. One of the best things that they did was every single year they did their game of the year deliberations, and they recorded the entire discussion, so you can understand what they were talking about, and why they did what they did. So there's no mystery, and it's also really funny and very entertaining. And they got an entire week worth of programming. Like every single day, they would release a new episode of them like hashing it out on why a certain thing was a certain thing. And they were also known for having goofy categories too. Like they had not what you would think. They had a category that was just called use of Skrillex. Like not best use of Skrillex or worst use of Skrillex. It was just called use of Skrillex. If that makes sense. They like it was the most fitting use of Skrillex in a game that year, because he was featured in something like 4 or 5 games when he was popular. And I think Far Cry 3 won out because it was like there's a Skrillex song playing while you're burning the weed fields.
Oh, I remember that. Yeah.
Yeah, so that was quite good. The main theme of Syndicate also was on that list, but it didn't win, obviously. Syndicate was a good game that was very underrated. But yeah, just kind of sad to see an era leave. But we might see something from these guys again as a group. That'll be really fun. So I'm looking forward to it. I know you probably don't know them as well as I do. But
Yeah, I've heard the name Alex Navarro, but that's it. I've never followed Giant Bomb.
yeah, Patrick Klepek was the guy for Forbes for a really long time before it was taken over by Jason Shearer. Now he's on Forbes. So yeah, like all these guys are really like big name guys in games journalism. It's kind of sad to see like Giant Bomb without the people there is not what it is. You know what I mean?
It's like the Theseus's ship conundrum.
Yeah, exactly. It's like Bethesda. Bethesda doesn't have any of its original people there anymore. Blizzard doesn't have any of its original people there anymore.
Rareware.
Exactly. So like, why they own the IP, but like it's not from people that you love. Retro Studios is basically barren as well. Has all new people in it. So I mean, Konami it doesn't have any of the people that you love there anymore. Sega does. Sega still has a lot of the people that you love. But it's just one of those things. You have an organization, and it's not just the properties that it turned out, the things that it produced, but it was also the people that were there that were making those things. You gotta when you buy a studio, you're buying the people there too, and you want to make sure you keep them. So they obviously didn't do that. So it's a shame. Makes you almost think maybe you wish that like Giant Bomb like remained independent. But the internet is a hard business because you have to sell advertising constantly, and you have to stay relevant. So having that job taken off of your shoulders and having somebody else doing it is certainly has its benefits. So anyway, and sorry to say that the next item is also big news, but like not as like devastating as this one. This is actually good news, but this is pretty cool. So Sega announced that they were going to have a special day called Judgment Day, and everybody was thinking that it was possible that they would reveal a sequel to Judgment, and they did. So really cool stuff. It is called Lost Judgment, at least in Japan. I think it's called Lost Judgment everywhere.
I wouldn't be surprised. The first game was called Judge Eyes in Japan, and that just sounds awkward to English speakers, so we called it Judgment. So Lost Judgment, I guess, is a change of pace for Japan and a natural sounding follow up for us.
Yeah, exactly. And I think they, the Ryuga Toka studio has basically started producing games for worldwide now because the U.S. market is very big for them now.
Yeah.
They are no longer a cult franchise; they are a AAA franchise in America. Ever since probably Yakuza 0 or Yakuza 6. So
Yeah. My guess would be Yakuza 0, but I think Yakuza 6 was the first game to sell more in America than in Japan.
yeah,
Which I find ironic because it's probably my least favorite one of the series.
yeah, and you love Judgment.
Judgment
and
is freaking excellent.
Like a Dragon, I was playing more of it this weekend. Is one of my favorite games of all time. I love it.
Like a Dragon,
really good.
it's a brilliant Yakuza game. But they had their fun. It was fun to experiment with turn-based combat. I wish they go back to Brawler, but they're not going to be doing that. Now, it makes sense because Ichiban, the character in Like a Dragon, is a Dragon Quest nerd, and he envisions battles like he's playing a game of Dragon Quest. So I know this is on the list as well, but Sega said that future Yakuza games are going to be turn-based, which makes sense. But I'm just like, all right.
Well, I mean, you'll have Judgment, which will be
yeah,
their
Judgment's still
action
a brawler series because Yagami is not a Dragon Quest nerd. He just punches people.
Well, I think that it was actually very smart to do that, and I'll tell you why.
It makes logical sense, but just all right.
I mean, Yakuza has 7 brawlers and 2 and.
Oh, I know they have
spin-offs.
1,000 brawlers.
Yeah.
I get it, but
Yeah.
man, I don't want a literal half-hour boss fight because it's fucking turn-based.
Well, I mean, I can hardly believe that a turn-based Yakuza game will come out as frequently as the action-based ones, because Like a Dragon is so content-heavy. I hardly believe that they can make another game like that very quickly.
I mean, it's about as content-heavy as any other Yakuza game.
Really, with that amount of dialogue and crazy amount of missions and stuff.
Yeah, there's a ton of sub-stories. Yakuza 5 has fucking 5 different playable characters and a super sub-story for each character. Yakuza 6 was fully voice acted. They didn't do that shit again, and I understand why. But there's lots of sub-stories. There's dialogue all over the place. There's the dating different people. Like a Dragon is just as, I would say, content heavy as any other Yakuza game. I mean, it has different stuff. They've never had a kart racer before. That shit was bananas. But Yakuza 0 and Kiwami 1, it's slot car racing. Judgment had drone racing. That shit was wild. You're flying a drone through a 3D space, through buildings. It was insane.
Yeah, well, the good news is that the Brawler isn't going away, and it's still part of the same, universe, so they can have a crossover, title.
I actually kind of hope they don't. As much fun as it would be to see little winks and everything like that, Judgment 1 exists pretty much entirely in a vacuum, so it's very accessible. You don't have to carry over a decade's worth of lore to see what's going on.
That's true.
I will say, one thing I heard about Lost Judgment is apparently it's going to go into darker territory than regular Judgment. And I gotta say, every so often, Yakuza goes into dark territory anyway, and Judgment kind of went into some skeezy territory, so oh, it's getting darker, is it? Okay. Judgment's basic plot was about a serial killer who murdered people and then removed their eyes. All right, fine. let's go deeper.
Yeah. It looks like it's one of those he's been arrested and framed kind of
Yeah,
setup.
I guess a logical progression from being a disgraced attorney who's trying to regain his name and running a private detective agency and committing crimes himself and getting attacked by Yakuza. So, alright,
Yeah.
why not? Let's fuck it up even more.
Well, I think this is potentially really interesting because, if the whole thing takes place in prison, that's
Yeah, that's
really
crazy.
interesting.
Like,
Yeah.
very little of Yakuza actually takes place in prison. You
Yeah.
saw what little bit of Yakuza 7 did. That was entirely cutscenes.
Yeah.
Yakuza 1, you had a fight in prison, and
Yeah.
then time skip, cutscenes, you're out. Yakuza 5, no, well, 4 and 5 deal with Saejima escaping from and or dealing with more shit in prison, depending which game it is. So Saijima's had some prison experience. But yeah, Yagami, that's gonna fucking suck. Like, Yagami,
I'm
we know
sure
he's
there
a
are people in there that are mad at him. So, too.
yeah, I'm sure there are, but he doesn't have, like, he's not notorious among the underworlds like
Gotcha.
Kiryu would be. Like, but at the same time, though, contrary wise, if the whole prison gets mad at Yagami, that's going to be a problem because the
Yeah.
whole prison got mad at Saejima, but Saijima's like a brick wall. That man's a fucking monster. Like, when you see Kiryu and Majima, you usually your rivals like the big heavy guy, but Kiryu's the heavy compared to Majima. Majima's far more agile. Majima is far more agile. But then you see Saejima, and you're like, oh no, he's the heavy. He has
Yeah.
only 3-hit combos because that's all he fucking needs. Yagami is not built like that. Even
Yeah.
his friend, I forgot his name.
He's athletic.
Starts with a K. Yeah,
Yeah.
he's athletic. Even his friend, the ex Yakuza, is more of a heavy hitter than Yagami is. So Yagami in prison, he'd probably better
Run.
be good. Well, it depends on the prison too, because
Yeah.
you remember the beginning of Like a Dragon. That prison was played straight, and the cop is like, "Yo, man, why are you getting into fights? Just sit out your time, and you'll get out of here." Meanwhile, Saejima was in a private prison, so odds were kind of stacked against him
Oh, sure.
because the
Yeah.
inmates hated him and the guards were assholes. So it's
Yeah,
like
yeah.
we'll see what kind of prison Yagami goes to.
Yeah.
Uh,
Just on a side note, it's really funny the thumbnail that they chose.
yeah, with him opening the doors.
Yeah, but it's very obviously like hands photoshopped, like rather than like the actual character like
Yeah, yeah,
actually
yeah.
doing that. Like people were comparing it to Goatsy. Don't look that up.
Yeah, I
But-
saw a bunch of like photoshops of the image. Probably my favorite one. Normally I would hate this, but it's been long enough that people gave up on memeing it, so I don't mind
Yeah.
it anymore. Was where they did the 4-panel comic Loss for
Oh.
for Lost Judgments.
I actually like the Lost meme.
I liked it until I didn't. It's like, all right, it's like Rick Astley. It's like it's not funny anymore. But like now
Yeah.
it's been long enough where people haven't been doing it that I'm kind of like, all right.
You have an affectionate like
Yeah,
almost,
I'm
like,
not
nostalgia for
bored
it.
to death by it anymore. So yeah,
Yeah.
okay, that's pretty good.
Yeah, but I will also add that this is probably the confirmation that Yakuza will now be an RPG franchise. Might be the mark of the first Sega turn-based RPG, Sega branded. I should say.
Since what, like Shining Force?
The last one was the DS game Seventh Dragon. So
Okay.
the 3DS game Seventh Dragon 3 was the last time I remember a Sega branded turn-based RPG that was a straight up RPG. We also have Valkyrio Chronicles, which is a strategy RPG.
Yeah,
But-
that it's turn based in a sense, but it's like,
It's a strategy game though.
it's like Advance
separate.
Wars or Battalion Wars or Famicom Wars or whatever the hell, except that you move freely during your turn.
It also has a bit of an action element to it.
Yeah, like enemies automatically fire at you as you run away, and when enemies move their turn, your characters will automatically fire at them if they're in their line of sight. So there's a little bit extra going on.
But you are right. I was trying to think of the last turn-based RPG that they had. Like even like Seventh Dragon is pretty obscure to Americans.
Yeah.
I would say probably before that it was Skies of Arcadia, and other than Phantasy Star Online games, obviously, but those are
Yeah, those aren't turn-based. Like,
yeah.
Phantasy Stars have been turn-based since, like, the Genesis.
Yeah, so I was gonna say probably the Shining series is all that was around, and they've been action.
Yeah, I was gonna say,
games.
even that was a guess. Like, I know Shining Force 2, but that was also the Genesis.
Well, and those are strategy games too. So
That's true. That's true.
like if you really want to say it, Skies of Arcadia,
Like, Langrisser?
Seventh Dragon, Langrisser's not Sega. And what is and the Phantasy Star proper series are their turn-based ones, and now they finally have a AAA mainline one. Of course, they own.
And it's funny because it's just straight up Dragon Quest, which is a Nintendo thing, except
hilarious.
Sega's just doing Dragon Quest.
Well, it's a Square Enix thing.
Oh, well, that's true. That's true. Yeah.
But you're right. There is a lot of like Nintendo wrapped up.
It's like a very. I mean, it's not like.
It's one of the defining series on the Famicom.
Yeah, but I was gonna say, like, I guess it's an homage, but like they directly mention it repeatedly throughout the game. This is just like Dragon Quest.
Yeah, exactly. They must have had a really good relationship with Square Enix to allow that to happen.
Oh my god!
Especially in both territories. But yeah, what I was gonna say is they do own Atlas, so don't at me with their the Persona stuff and the Shin Megami Tensei stuff and all the stuff they have at Atlas. The Atlas is their RPG brand, but you have to admit that the RPGs over there are different and mostly cultish. I know that the Persona games are mainstream now, but they weren't
before the PS2.
Yeah, they are now, and it was because of scrappy people on the PS2 that they're a thing now.
Persona 3, like the Fez version, was I think the first time people really started hearing about it.
Yeah. So and Persona and Nocturne was not a big hit. So even when that did come out here. So
yeah, we got all the others. We got Digital Devil Saga, but like, how many people were just talking about that at the time?
Yeah, nobody. So I think it's particularly significant that a big company was able to break their way back into a AAA RPG space, which hardly ever happens, to be honest. So I think it's really, really cool that they did this. Despite your hang-ups about it, I think it's going to be okay because you're gonna,
I played it and I platinumed it. Like, I liked it enough. I just like the brawler though.
Yeah, I get it. Moving on from that, we had a surprise announcement from Nintendo, like out of nowhere. Game Builder Garage coming out on June 11th. So yeah, they are giving you the tools to make your own video game, which looks pretty neat. It looks very.
I heard this described as like maybe a slightly less involved Dreams. So like now Nintendo has a Dreams like PS4 does.
Well, I'm really all for this because Nintendo makes really great creation software when they do. Very easy to use, very easy to understand.
Yeah, the Mario Maker stuff is like probably the obvious example.
Yeah, and you have like Mario Paint stuff before that, and you have like Electroplankton before that, and they've done various things, but Mario Maker is the most famous current thing, and Mario Maker is fantastic. And a lot of times, what they also did WarioWare DIY for the DS, which was also a lot of fun. So like make your own micro games, which was a lot of fun. But what's great about this is they make these ultra accessible, but still give you robust tools. They don't. It's not dumbed down really. It's just done in a way that's fun and easy to understand. And it's very streamlined, And if you've ever seen some of the really cool things that you could do in Mario Maker, you'll understand that it's robust. It's not clown stuff.
Yeah, I mean,
So
if you just go look up the popular, well-made levels, like that stuff does all sorts of creative stuff that Nintendo themselves wouldn't have thought of.
yeah, I mean there's even RPG levels in there because somebody was able to like make
Yeah,
that.
you can do some unbelievable stuff with the
They
Mario
they've
Maker
even made
software.
a shmup within like Mario World,
Oh yeah, no,
using Mario
I've seen
World
stuff
stuff.
like that where like,
Yeah.
or even fighting the bosses and you're in the little Koopa clown car and there's like 1,000 cannonballs shooting in various directions. It's
It's so much fun.
basically a bullet hell.
Yeah, exactly. They've done amazing things. They've done adventure games and stuff
Yeah, I've
just
seen
using the Mario
storytelling
engine
through
alone.
visuals. Like
Yeah,
it's not even a traditional Mario level. You just kind of see it. Like you just go through doors, but you see like a story being told.
yeah, and like there's Little Big Planet before that, obviously, but I think this has potential to be really expansive. I don't think they've talked about like what you could do in terms of social stuff with this, like sharing your creations. But it looks like it's going to be really fun and easy to use, and I'm all for it. I also like when they release this kind of stuff because they typically release a lot of like stuff that they made using these engines. So they give you a lot of really cool, innovative mini games that they made, and it's worth it for that content alone. Usually in these things, like you could play Mario Maker 2 and not make a single level because the levels that they give you as example levels are a lot of fun, and they give you enough of them that it's good on its own. In fact, what was cool about Mario Maker 1 and then the 3DS version was that they had completely new level sets. So you can actually buy the 3DS game just for more unique Mario content, even when the servers shut down, because they have like levels that they made for you, and it's basically a full campaign worth of levels in there. When you buy these things. So I'm suspecting that that'll be the same case here. I mean, WarioWare DIY had original content in it as well. You don't have to use it as a creation game if you don't want to, or you could just use it to experience other things that other people made as well. So it's not just for the people who want to make something; it's also for people who want to experience that stuff. And I'm all for it. I'm all for it. I don't have the patience to make a lot of my own content, but I do like seeing what other people do. Moving on from this, think this is more of an item for you. You commented on it as well on Twitter, but maybe you could go over this one.
Yeah. So I mean, this is good news, but I'm gonna be clenched the whole time. So Spike Chunsoft announced a 3D action RPG based on the Made in Abyss anime and manga series.
And Spike Chunsoft is awesome,
Yeah, it's an
like almost
RPG. It's Spike
100% of the
Chunsoft.
time.
Yeah, like at this point, I'm willing to look into anything Spike Chunsoft releases. They did 428, which is like genuinely my game of the year in 2018, and it's a visual novel that was ported from the Wii.
Their
Like
adventure
it's the
games,
best thing ever.
their adventure games are top notch, and so are their RPGs.
Yeah,
So,
these are the Danganronpa people. I have not yet played it, but these are the Zanki Zero people. Like they
they
have
made
some really good stuff.
also Sheeran the Wanderer, the recent
Right.
Sheeran the Wanderer.
Now Made in Abyss though, I like the series, but it is a rough sit. Basically the idea is it's almost like a video game dungeon. There's this giant abyss, pit, whatever, in the middle of this town. It's kind of like the town's built around this gaping pit, and brave adventurers go down into it and grab like rare materials and artifacts from it and see if they could sell it or look into it for scientific research or whatever it is they do. But there are a few scary things about this. The first is that the creatures down there are just horrific. Like there's a very good chance that you're just gonna get your ass killed. And number two, if you go down from one layer of the abyss to the next, well, number one, it gets tougher, but number two, climbing out is extremely difficult because they liken it to you know those okay, you know those spikes you put on the road, which they're not sticking straight up but they're curved so you can drive
Yep.
over them one way but you can't reverse back over them because then you'll hit the
Correct.
spiky side.
Sure.
It's like that. Like, you can go down as far as you want into the abyss, but if you try climbing back up, like, going from one level to the next has like terrible physical effects on your body. Like, you'll feel like pretty nauseous and awful if you go from level 2 to level 1, but if you go from like level 4 to level 3, like, you might not survive. So how deep, it's not even do you think you can go all the way down, it's like, would you even want to?
Yeah,
If you
kinda
go
have to
down
keep
far
going.
enough, you're just gonna fucking live there.
Yeah, yeah.
But the reason I say this series is like constant clench is that it has no problem being uncomfortably brutal to the main characters, who happen to be kids. So it's just like, if they encounter a monster, it's like, oh no, I hope they don't die. But like, no, like, terrible, terrible things can happen. Season 1 had some rough physical and emotional moments. The movie was out, which I thought was going to basically be season 2, but now they've apparently announced an actual season 2. So I guess the movie was like actually part of the manga, but I don't know, longer and in movie quality. I hear that's going to be a rough sit because there's a guy you meet in Flashback toward the end of season 1 who's apparently like just the worst, and like, so let's see more of that guy. Like, oh good. Oh man, I'll watch that series, but I'm gonna be sweating the entire time. So, and now they're releasing an RPG. Like, oh, okay. All right, we'll see. We'll see how unpleasant it gets. I guess I
Yeah.
definitely want to play it, but again, like, it's like if they were made to make a game based on like Elfen Lied or something. I like the show, but I don't know about this. That kind of thing.
Yeah, I really intend to watch that first season because I heard so many good things from you.
Of Made in
Um,
Abyss.
yeah, yeah,
Yeah, it's great. Just brace yourself.
yeah, for sure. But that's okay. I prefer my anime to have dark elements. So
Oh yeah, oh
yeah,
yeah, of
th-
course. Well, then you'll love Elfen Lied. Just like, don't watch that casually.
yeah, yeah. No, you gotta pay attention and all that too.
Well, not well. I mean, yes, but I mean, don't just go like, oh, I'm in the mood to watch Elfen Lied. Like, brace yourself.
Be prepared to have a bad time in a
Yeah,
good
be
way.
prepared to
Yeah,
watch a child brutally murder a small animal.
yeah, exactly. Moving on from that, this was like really surprising and like out of nowhere.
Yeah, even
Uh,
just reading this on this list, it's like, what?
a company called Microids, which is fairly prominent. They're a French company. They make Siberia. I think they're most well known for Siberia.
Oh,
Uh,
SY Beria.
yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. Which is a pretty well established adventure game series,
Yeah.
especially during the dark times of adventure games when we barely had any before like the
Oh yeah,
Telltale
the late
Renaissance.
'90s, early 2000s. Because like, who wants to do point and click anymore? We got 3D cool
Exactly.
stuff. So like, point and click just died, even though they were getting better and better. This was the era of like King's Quest 6
Hmm.
and 7 and like Grim Fandango, and like, point and clicks are so old though. Let's do something else.
Yeah,
And
there
then
were there
yeah.
were a few really good ones during those that era. Like there was Dreamfall's first game. What was that called? The Longest Journey.
Yeah.
That was a really good game. And don't believe the myths that anything is ever dead. Like punk is dead. No, there's plenty of good punk around. You're just don't, it's not being advertised.
Yeah,
It's
I was
there.
gonna say, even then, give it like 15 years when the people who miss it get old enough
Yep,
and established enough to make their own. I mean, look at like
exactly.
half of the Steam library now. It's like
Yeah,
retro stuff.
yeah.
I
All
don't
that
want that to
stuff is
die. I'm
because
making my own.
yeah, there weren't any brawlers for a really long time, or they were on GBA
Yeah, like,
and
look at
DS
all
for a
these
long time.
2D Metroidvanias now. Like, look at fucking Hollow Knight.
Yeah,
Like that no way that would have been made if we had just left it to the big studios.
Yeah,
like,
and that,
no,
that was a big
Metroid
game.
games
It
are
made a lot of
dead.
money.
Yeah.
That game made a lot of
And,
money.
and look at Axiom Verge. That creator just came right out and said, "You aren't making any more Metroid games, so I made one."
Yeah, and he made one of the most well respected Metroid-like games around on his own, which is pretty amazing. But yeah, I mean, this is just one of those things. Microids announced that they are putting out Flashback 2 out of
That's
fucking
so
nowhere.
weird.
So
I
Flashback, for
always
those who,
associate Flashback with Out of This World, so I'm just
yeah.
picturing like, what if they announced Out of This World too? It's like, what?
Well, what? So I have to set the stage because not everybody's gonna know what Flashback is because it's an old franchise.
Well, it is, but I mean, it's still obscure. But it got like a remaster.
Yeah, I'll put it out there. Flashback was kind of a very similar to Out of This World, which kind of took after Prince of Persia. It's the beginning of the cinematic.
Yeah, old Prince of
Platformer.
Persia, like original, like not
Yeah.
the GameCube, PS2 ones, like old Prince of Persia, Sega Genesis Prince of Persia, like
Yeah,
Apple Prince of
which was
Persia.
basically all started by Karateka, Karateka. Um, but
Oh, that, yeah, the weirdly smooth karate
mhm.
game.
Yeah, exactly. So typically, the cinematic platformer had very smooth-looking animation with awkward controls, and like really punishing gameplay with lots of that were typically very puzzle-based and very like try again kind of
Yeah, trial and
gameplay.
error as
Yeah,
well.
trial and error. They
Like Prince of Persia, like a saw blade comes out of the wall that you couldn't see because it's a 2D
exactly.
game. Oh, okay, well, don't do that next time.
Exactly. You basically needed to memorize these games, and there were other games like that. So there was Blackthorn is another one that Blizzard's Blackthorn. There
Well,
one
this
of
is a
my
more
favorite
modern
games.
one, but there's Heart of Darkness, which is, I
Yeah,
think, made
that's
by
one
the
of my
same
favorite
guy
games.
as Flashback and From Another World. Heart of Darkness on
Yeah.
the PS1.
Well, Another World, Out of This World is not made by the same person as
Oh, it's
Flashback.
not.
Yeah.
Okay.
So a lot of people equate with them, but they were by the same company, and
Okay.
one came after, like Out of This World, Another World came out first, and then they released Flashback, and it looks very similar in style. It just looks like more advanced because it's a
Yeah, a
newer
little bit
game.
newer. Yeah.
Yeah, and it's probably using some of the bones of Out of This World. Let's face it. It's probably using a lot of the same, the stuff learned from making that game. That kind of thing. But yeah, it was a really revolutionary game for the time, and every once in a while you'll see it re-released. They put out during the 360 PS3 era a remake of the original game with like newer controls, and that was a pretty good game. But they also re-released like the original game on recently, and it's actually like to get what is really fun about that game, you have to like play its original version. So I recommend like the re-release of the original game because like it's really amazing what they did with the graphics at that
Well,
time.
that's the thing. Like, it
Yeah.
makes me think of the PlayStation 4 Shadow of the Colossus remake, where you're like,
hmm
hey, look at this weird idea. But I honestly think that the PS2 game is more impressive because nobody thought the system could do that.
Yeah, and a lot some of the people that knew the deep stuff about this commented that there was already a sequel. It's just a really bad one that nobody respects.
Oh.
It's a game called Fade to Black for the PS1.
Oh, I've heard of
Um,
that. I had no idea that was connected to anything.
yeah, no, that's Flashback 2. It was a 3D game that was not good. Um, and Out of This World, Another World also has a sequel that was on like Sega CD. That isn't very good either.
Wow. What's that one
But
called? Do you know?
that was at least in the same style. It was called Heart of the Alien, and you played as
Wow.
like Buddy, as the alien that you
What?
befriend. Yeah.
Do you still say like?
But yeah, the main character from the first game like straight up dies in it.
Yeah.
So
Well,
yeah, I don't know whether that game's canon or whatever, but
that's kind of amazing though. I gotta say that's a bold move.
yeah, they straight up kill the main character, who's like basically based off of the designer of the game. He just like gets like fried and like right in front of your eyes.
And that sucks too, because it's like you solve the whole game with them,
Yeah,
and then it's like, oh well.
just straight up dies. But yeah, Flashback 2, I'm looking forward to it because I'm sure they have a lot of cool ideas. If they are looking back at this, they could release anything. It's not like Flashback has a gigantic amount of cachet behind it, so I'm sure they have some new ideas for what they could do with a cinematic platform these days. So I think that would be really cool. We without cinematic platformers, we would not have Assassin's Creed. I know it's funny to say that, but
You gotta start
one
somewhere.
of the biggest franchises we have has roots with Prince of Persia. So
Yeah, well, I mean, like every video game we have now, like almost ever, comes from King's Quest. Did you
Yeah.
know you could move the character on your own with the arrow keys? What? I could move the pictures?
exactly. Well, like it all starts with Zork, right? Everybody
It all
always
starts
says
with
it all
Zork,
starts
but
with
yeah,
Zork.
King's Quest had like graphics that you could move.
Yeah, Colossal Cave Adventure I think was even before Zork. But yeah. But yeah, I wanted to throw this out there because it's interesting at the very least. Moving on from that, we talked about we had a recent announcement that there is going to be a new Cotton collection coming out with Cotton 2, Cotton Boomerang, and what was it, Guardian Force on it. And we talked a bit about Cotton Reboot, which is an excellent remake and also port of the original game. But for if you wanted a copy of it, you would either have to import it or get it from Strictly Limited. I think is
Yeah,
putting it out.
I was gonna mention that. I've been seeing pre-orders for Strictly Limited for Cotton for months now,
Yeah,
but what you're about to announce is an alternate, more accessible plan.
it is a way better option. I mean, Strictly Limited is cool and all, but they
Strictly
are
Limited
also
has cool releases, but like their whole thing is that they're either limited copies or you can get some sort of premium edition.
yeah.
If you just want a regular ass copy, then we have some good news for you.
They also tend to be on the expensive side because they are based in Europe.
Yeah, you got to import. I think I might be wrong about this, but I want to say Germany.
Yeah, they are a PAL based
No, no,
company.
it is Germany actually. Yes, it is.
Yeah, so but yeah, apparently they got an official North American publisher, Einen. They are producing a Switch and PS4 physical copy, and for only $40, which is very reasonable for the quality of this release. And considering that cotton games are always expensive in the long run, you could bet
Yeah,
that
either you had the Turbo Graphics release that's now hundreds of dollars back in the day, or you didn't.
I think I might have four different original Cotton games, and they're all worth something.
Yeah, because
You
no
know,
one
like,
ever heard of them. So
yeah.
like, if you have them, oh really?
This is an excellent shmup series, and also not a bullet hell franchise, so it is much more reasonable for a casual shmup fan, and
It
it's
has more
also
of a cute aesthetic in
yeah.
general. It would seem. I mean, I know aesthetic does not determine gameplay, but it would seem contrary to the cute aesthetic if it made you miserable with millions of bullets.
Yeah, and it's also very appealing. I would think that this would be a game that a lot of different people would try. It is not an easy game, but it is much more accessible than a cave-made game or anything like that. So I absolutely recommend this, and especially like if you dig the aesthetic. It's you're a little witch, and all the things that you fight are demonic or magic related. So I think it's going to be a lot of fun, and we're during a really nice shmup renaissance right now, and this game has already been rated, and
Yes,
everybody
speaking
likes
of
it.
game genres are not necessarily dead.
Mhm.
But I like playing 1942 back in the day. Like, well, good news.
Yeah, this is a really good one, and especially if you remember the original version of this, like on the TurboGrafx 16 or whatever. They have the version, they have the original version of the game on there, so that's pretty cool. It is kind of a remixed port, which is kind of cool. So it was originally an arcade game and got ported to a couple different consoles at the time. The Yu-Gi-Oh! Pocket Color is one of them, and the of course the TurboGrafx 16, like we were talking about. But they also ported it to a really popular, powerful PC platform at the time called the X68000, which comes up in conversation every once in a while. We talked about it with in the Castlevania
Yeah, I
episode.
was going to mention specifically, like, I remember reading it in the HG 101 book about Castlevania specifically. Like,
Yeah,
oh, there's also this
Castlevania
system you've never heard of.
Castlevania Chronicles is based off of a specific X68000 Castlevania game, for instance. But that version was inferior to the arcade in a couple respects. Something like frame rate, wasn't entirely perfect, but it had like remixed dungeons or levels in it that made it like basically the definitive version of the game. I think the new like Cotton Reboot port of the original game has like all of the arcade and all of the X68000 content, and the music from the X68000 version, which is supposed to be better. So like it's like they're giving you a definitive version of this game, which is really really neat. It doesn't always happen like that. And speaking of other shmups, one of the granddaddies of the bullet hell genre had a new entry to its series, which it's hard to keep track of the series because of the amount of side games and fan games that are in it.
Yeah, I was going to mention, you had said some time ago that the original creator considers all fan made games canon. So,
Yes.
like, so there's literally no way to tell when a new one's coming out because anyone can make it at any time.
Yeah, it basically is like a game without copyright. It does have copyright, but like you can make a game and it's sanctioned. Like you can publish a game on a platform and sell it, and it's okay. Like it's really unusual what he allowed. But yeah, like there's been so many fan made content. There's actually a lot of really good like fighting games that are in the Touhou franchise that like are Dojin efforts. But you can buy them. There's even a whole bunch of RPGs and stuff that other small companies have made, and you can buy on the Switch in English. So for a long time, it was kind of funny that like the only Toho games that you could easily buy were the fan ones because like Zune would put out a game and would release it at Comic Cat, which is like the big like Dojin creator convention every single year. And he would put it on a CD, and obviously they're not sold at stores either, so it's really hard even for an American to import them. Well, he started putting all of the new games on Steam as well as some of the backed ones. He keeps putting out ports of the old games too, which is pretty neat. But Touhou 18 Unconnected Marketeers is now on Steam, so he'll put out like a new game and put like a new gimmick in it. And it's a new shmup with a new gimmick. I think the last one revolved around like taking pictures as well as dodging bullets, which is a pretty neat kind
I
of
think
thing.
so. I remember a friend of ours showing me that game, and he said it was kind of like a Fatal Frame bullet hell.
Yeah, which is kind of neat, but I don't know what the gimmick is of Unconnected Marketeers, but this game is not in English. technically all the menus are in English, so you can get by, but none of the dialogue is officially in English. But usually fans make a patch for it. So you can go on Steam and easily buy this for was it $14.99. So these are part of a very influential scene and franchise. So everybody is dubbing this one overwhelmingly positive. It might be one of the best ones in the series. So that is saying a lot, considering most of the games are highly regarded to begin with. And it looks like a lot of fun too. So I'm sure there's a fan patch out to make the dialogue into English translated. Last time I checked, they had a whole program that would search your computers for like the official Touhou games and would find fan translations for you and convert them all. And you would it was basically like a front end for fans of Touhou, which is unlike anything I've ever seen for a fan community, which is really neat. But yeah, I thought that was cool. Also, I'm gonna say this as part of other shmup stuff that we've been talking about. Raiden 4 Cross Mikado remix was just put out on Switch. So it is Raiden 4 is like one of the best modern Raiden games. It's really, really fun. I like it even better than 5. And they decided to put it on the Switch, but they also had the Mikado group remix the music for this game, and you can also play it with the original soundtrack as well. But that's their gimmick. They have it has remix soundtracks, but it is the original version of Raiden 4, just with a brand new music option. But this is a really fun game. It was originally released on Xbox 360 and has since been on PS3. But this is I recommend this game. It'll be a lot of fun if you pick it up. And I just wanted to quickly mention that R-Type Final 2 is finally out. It shipped to houses last week. I have my copy. I haven't played it yet, but I'm hearing it's kind of unfinished. So hopefully it will get some patches soon.
So R-Type Final 2 final?
I mean, anything with Final in its name, it's not. I mean, how many Final Destination movies are there?
I was just going to mention, there's only one Final Fight game, so that's fine.
Final Fight, yeah, come on. And let's see here. I think that's it for shmup stuff. Limited run games, I just wanted to quickly mention this, which I think is kind of a goofy thing.
This was weird.
They announced that they are opening up pre-orders for a physical copy of Among Us, which is literally a $5 game.
Well, more importantly, which you need
free.
DRM to play, so it defeats the purpose of being physical.
Yeah, and it's also like online only too. I don't think
people are like, and this gets patched like every 2 minutes because it's an online game. So like people are like a lot of people are hyped about the
extras. I think are cool,
the physical pieces that come with it, like the big red button stuff like that. But there's also people who are like, this seems contrary to what limited run games is.
Yeah, I mean, limited run games is a really cool company. So like the swag is probably the reason why you want this. But...
Yeah, I was gonna say it's about the swag because I should mention the two of us bought Frog Fractions 2, and that's a Steam game.
Yeah.
So like we can't complain too loudly, but this seems a little sus. This is why I make the big bucks.
It is a really cool big red button that they give you. I have to admit, and it actually works. It's an emergency meeting button, and it has a really nice steel bookcase. I'm always a sucker for that stuff. I will not be buying this. It is a $5 game for $80, but and one that I think is fun for a little while, but then I get tired of. So
I just get bothered because the video game isn't the real game. The real game is everybody yelling at each other when someone presses the button, and that's just not fun to me. because everyone's talking over everyone else. Like, I was over here at the time, but I saw you do that. It's like that's the opposite of fun for me.
Eventually, I get tired of those mafia style games. And
It's a brilliant idea. Don't get me wrong,
yeah.
but when everyone just starts arguing with each other, that's the actual game, and it's not fun to me.
I just like there's a lot of these type of games, and nowadays because they are legitimately fun. But if you've played one, you've played them all. They're all very similar. I mean, it is really fun to be the guy who's like knifing people. Admittedly, it is cool to be the evil one in this game, but it's a party game, and I think that's where it ends with me. I think I like playing it only every once in a while because of that. Moving on, I just wanted to just say that probably the biggest video game thing to happen, or right around this time, is that Resident Evil Village, Resident Evil 8 is now out. People are liking it, however, they are a little hesitant about the combat. I think it's like they like the structure of it, but not everything. Maybe it's taking a little while for this one to sink in. But
yeah, I mean, I guess we'll see. I mean, I should point out that to this day, people like the OG Resident Evil games, and their combat sucked.
Yeah, exactly. So and who knows, because like it might just be it's a different type of game than they're used to releasing. So it might be like a taste thing, like you just aren't used to it yet.
Resident Evil's really been changing it up. I like, whether you like it or not, I gotta give them credit.
Yeah, and they've done it well each time, which is cool. Ever since 6, they realized with 6 they really fucked up.
Yeah, so. I was gonna say ever since Survivor 1.
Well, they had the Revelation games since then, both of them.
Yeah.
And they had 7, which was critically acclaimed and fan acclaimed.
And it was also a very strategic move because it filled that PT.
And it was very risky. It was very risky making 7. 7 was not what people expected.
That's true. But I mean, again, PT. So we're like, well, I'll take it. I'll take Capcom's PT. But what cracked me up was people questioning, like, why? Since when was Resident Evil a first-person game? And I'm like, this is the 4th one.
Yeah, that is true. That is true. But yeah, I mean, I am. They also incorporated a lot of what they learned from RE2 remake, which is the Mr. X stuff is basically in here. You have 4 different stalkers in this game over different areas of the game, and I think that's a fantastic idea.
And that was another thing, by the way, that like
that.
I really am trying to avoid spoilers as much as possible on this one, so I don't know much.
That's
on
all
purpose.
I know about it. That's all.
Yeah, but what you're describing, it just made me think of Resident Evil 4, where it's like the village, the castle, like stuff like that. There's 4 or however many zones in the game,
and each of them is owned by one of the sisters, which is pretty cool.
Yeah.
And they are looking for you and stalking you, just like the Mr. X or the Nemesis was. So I think that is a really cool thing. They tried something new with the Resident Evil 2 remake, in the way that it worked, and it paid off well. It's considered one of the best Resident Evil games ever as a result. So they took that idea and ran with it with Village. So we'll see what the long-term thought is going to be on it, but I think it's going to end up being a classic, to be honest, just from the vibes that I'm getting.
I have heard that one of the monsters, I guess monster form of something or other, is genuinely scary, just inherently, and that gets my attention, because I'm very used to monster forms being big and bombastic, and it's scary because you could die, but it's not terribly often where you just look at something and you're like, I'm scared of it without even playing right now. So that gets my attention.
Exactly. So actually, I have crafted the core con for this week to be kind of based off of this, like a a sort of like stalking bad guy, like a nemesis, if you will, episode, an episode based off of like nemesis.
Yeah, considering that Resident Evil 8 is the first game to have a nemesis.
That
Oh. Oh. Oh
I mean,
no.
Nemesis isn't even the first game to have that.
Yeah, that's the best part. Yeah, Nemesis is not the first Nemesis.
Mr. X is OG and always will be. So anyway, moving on from that, out of nowhere, somebody online in Japan revealed that they have 2 unreleased completed Sega Saturn games. Like, they have them, and they showed them off, which is insane. So the first one was Faradun, which is an overhead action RPG. It looked pretty clunky, so probably wasn't completely finished. And the other one's called Rensa, which is a puzzle dating sim game. I am not interested in playing either of them, but you have to admit, like, a full game that hasn't...
Yeah, that's nuts.
That nobody's ever seen before. I mean, that's really, really cool. I mean, they're both also have heavy Japanese in them, so unless they get fan translated at some point and dumped, I don't think they indicated that they are dumping these, and but I think you could probably assume that the internet will eventually have them preserved. So, or we can only hope. Moving on from that, I did want to talk about Mr. Stuff real quick. Hotego is continuing his CPS2 cores, his Capcom Play System 2 cores. He just added Marvel vs. Capcom to it, which is an awesome, amazing landmark game. Let's go crazy, as the Lotus fans say.
Does it do that? I know the first game did that.
Yes, it is the first game.
Marvel vs. Oh, okay. For some reason I thought I heard Marvel vs. Capcom 2. My fault.
Nope.
Never mind. Yes, let's go crazy.
The original Marvel vs. Capcom game, Marvel vs. Capcom 2, is a CPS3 game.
Okay, there we go. With Venom and Red Venom.
yeah. So, not Carnage, Red Venom.
Yeah, it's called Carnage, but like they didn't even try.
Onslaught is in this game as the boss.
Yeah, I always thought that was fascinating. This is very much a game of its time. Onslaught is a very specific period in comic book history, like the very 90s.
Yeah, what happened was Charles Xavier, Professor Xavier, wiped Magneto's brain completely because he was doing Magneto stuff and possible genocide. and in the process made a backup copy of Magneto's entire consciousness in his own brain, and surprise, it got loose and it made Onslaught, which is
That's like the scariest thing ever.
Which is a combination of Magneto and Professor Xavier, but Magneto is obviously dominant. And
yeah, he's like, I mean, if you remember, I mean, I don't know, if you don't know this, I don't know why you'd know the other thing I'm going to bring up, but if you know Apocalypse from X-Men vs. Street Fighter, where he's like the background of the screen, doing giant fist punches across the screen, like, Onslaught's that.
Yeah, he's gigantic and evil over. And, like, consuming, but yeah, he is continuing, he has almost something like 80% of the cores in beta status right now for the Capcom Play System 2, which is probably the most coveted, other than maybe Neo Geo, arcade platform, like hardware platform that you can think of for what you would want to play and want playable, because the CPS2 system has like so many cool games on it, like all the classic fighting games that you know and love from the 90s were on that platform that Capcom made. They just so many versions of Street Fighter were on it, including up to Super Street Fighter 2 Turbo, which is basically the definitive version of Street Fighter 2. Also, all of the Street Fighter Alpha games, the Darkstalkers games, just everything that you could ever want from all the beat 'em ups that they made, including Alien vs Predator, is on that platform. So it's really cool what he's doing. You can have access to it if you are a Patreon, but he is pretty close to making the entire thing public, which means every single game will be working and really accurate, extremely accurate, to the point where you wouldn't be able to tell whether you were playing original hardware, which is amazing. And it's really awesome work that he did. He's like the superstar of the Mr. Platform at the moment. And somebody announced also that they are making a WonderSwan color core, which is really cool. Especially considering that the WonderSwan has no way of outputting video that I can think of.
Yeah, it's just a handheld system.
Yeah, I can't think of anybody who's even come up with a fan project.
Finally, we could play Clock Tower.
You could play Final Fantasy 1 finally.
You can most importantly and most obviously, not that you can read Japanese, but the Choa Nikki RPG.
There is the Choa Nikki RPG. There is the 2 Guilty Gear games where you can play as the nurse with the gigantic syringe.
Jeez, I don't even know who that is. Is that exclusive to WonderSwan?
She's an exclusive character that has not shown up since.
Jesus.
There's just a lot of really cool games on the WonderSwan that it was kind of similar to the Neo Geo Pocket Color. It just was a competitor for the Game Boy Advance and just got trounced by it. But unfortunately, this one never came to America in any form. So this will be a really cool thing to mess around with. I think there's I think that's going to be a lot of fun. And to have it be so accurate and have all kinds of options of playing the games, Tate mode and horizontal mode, it's really cool. And unfortunately, I wanted to throw this out there. The guy who is working on the PlayStation 1 core is leaving the project. But thankfully, in the spirit of Mr., he is leaving it as all of his work as open source, so somebody can jump in and work on it from there. So that's the beauty of an open source project. If somebody has, stuff goes on in their life that they can't help, or there's something that they just don't want to be part of anymore, now somebody can pick it up where they left off, which is pretty cool. But it's kind of a bummer because there was some major progress made on that thing, and I have less of a need and want for this kind of core, but I think it would be really cool, in the long run. I mean, I have pretty much the best PlayStation 1 setup that I could ever hope for right now because of the X Station and the PS Digital, and now the Memory Card Pro.
I cannot freaking believe the Memory Card Pro. What an idea.
It is. You could not hope for a better situation for a video game system to finally have a digital out that works completely and access to an entire library of games. Yep. And it to work perfectly.
And again, that Memory Card Pro, some games take up a lot of space in that memory card.
Jeez.
Sorry, Hexen, that's it. That's the whole card.
Yeah, you can run entire seasons of Madden on there with no problem. You can run you can
Suikoden 1 and 2 and Suiko Gaiden 1 and 2.
I was gonna say Fighter Maker or RPG Maker.
Yeah, those are hefty. Yeah,
those games took up entire memory cards. So yeah, I think this is a really cool time to be a PlayStation 1 fan, and it's a shame that something like this that would make it even more accessible, because all you would need is a Mr. setup to run it, has kind of died out, and it'll probably be a long time before somebody is able to pick it up and discern what the old work was. You know what I mean?
Yep.
like if anybody goes in to pick up after the original author, they're gonna have to look at their notes and like try to discern their work, because like programming isn't easy. you look at somebody else's way of doing things, it's not going to be the same way that you did things. So I think it'll be a very long time before we have an FPGA core of the PlayStation as a result. And I'm not going to go super into this because this could take up a whole fucking episode.
Yeah.
But Marvel Cinematic Universe had what they're calling their Phase 4 trailer, which revealed a ton of movies, many of which we already knew about, but I thought was cool stuff nonetheless. I know that you don't care about Marvel at all anymore.
Yeah, I just get exhausted hearing about it. Like, all right, everybody, get ready. Here's our literal next 10 movies. It's like, I'm fucking out.
Yeah, well, this is an exciting.
Yeah, I mean, like,
time.
realistically, it is exciting. This just exacerbates my burnout. There's 10 more. Oh, fuck off.
Here's the thing. It's such a vast thing, and they don't have, like, one thing that they're leading up to anymore, which they were.
Yeah, I know. I know you don't need to watch all of them for pure continuity, but like I just keep hearing Marvel. It's like it's just like it's like snakes on a plane. That's only one movie, but I kept hearing about it, and I'm like, I'm out.
Well, I mean that shouldn't be a reflection on the actual like thing.
No, it's not. It's a reflection on me. I'm just fucking done.
Fair enough. But Black Widow is finally getting her own movie. We knew about that. It's been delayed forever because of COVID.
Yeah, we've been waiting for that for years.
But Black Widow honestly should have already had a movie. And like even before Phase 4, she should have had a movie in Phase 2 or 3. But it's cool. She's finally getting her movie, which is great. The Eternals, which I don't know nothing about, even though I'm a comic book fan. Black Panther, Wakanda Forever. Nobody knows what the hell that's going to be because our Patrick Boseman is
Chadwick.
Chadwick Boseman, I'm sorry, has passed away, and he's the main character. There's a number of things I think they could do. They could bring back Michael B. Jordan. They could say he didn't die, or something happened.
Well, yeah, I was wondering if it was going to be like what Spider-Man did for a little while, where like Doc Ock becomes Spider-Man for Superior Spider-Man, or some real weirdness, or like there's like white Venom. It's like, oh, it's good this time. Like, oh, okay, or some really bizarre shenanigans.
Or they could have his sister pick up as Black Panther.
Yeah, a lot of people were thinking about that. Yeah.
Or they could just recast him, which I don't think will happen, but they could do it. I think it would be disrespectful to recast him, to be honest. But he is an important character in the Marvel franchise, so they may not want to like bury that, along, the character along with the unfortunate passing of the actor. So maybe that was poor choice of words. But what I'm saying is. T'Challa is an important part of the Marvel universe. He's like Storm's husband. So like there are other things you can do with him. Like a lot of cool things. But it was a heartbreaking thing seeing Chadwick Boseman pass away because he was a good guy, great actor, and an iconic character. So it's a shame. There's a new movie called The Marvels, and it was done in the font of Captain Marvel, so it's probably going to be kind of like, I imagine, like the Marvel family, the Captain Marvel family, that version.
So
the Marvel
if they refer
version
to
of the Captain Marvel family.
If they refer to themselves in the first person, then it'd be Marvel us.
Yes. But probably Photon will be in that. I imagine Monica Rambeau, who was in WandaVision, I imagine, and she was a Captain America, a version of Captain America in the comics. So I imagine she'll be in that, and there may even be like the male version of Captain Marvel somewhere along the way, because like the male version of Captain Marvel was the original version of Captain Marvel. So
Yeah, that's true. The person we know as Captain Marvel was like a derivation, like Supergirl, like she was Miss Marvel
she
at
was Miss
first.
Marvel and became Captain Marvel like fourth down the line.
Yeah,
She
she had
finally got the
multiple
title.
iterations of Miss Marvel before going there. Then she was like Warbird, then it was like like Sunspot or Sunburst or something like
Yeah,
that.
yeah, something like
And
that.
then finally Captain Marvel.
Yeah, yeah. So like Carol Danvers is has only recently, and I talk about that in comics. Probably like for the last 15, 20 years, she's been Captain Marvel, but
She's
it,
been around since like what, the 70s?
the original Captain Marvel died in the early '80s, so and has stayed that way, thankfully. He died in one of the most famous like comic book deaths that hasn't been fucked with since, which is unusual. Um, he died of basically space cancer and had an entire special that dealt with it.
Hmm.
And but he's a very important character because he was linked to Rick Jones. He switched places, like physical space, with Rick Jones, who isn't involved in the MCU at all, which is very surprising. Because Rick Jones is one of the most important Marvel characters, along with like the Scarlet Witch. Like the two of them are like hand in hand, if you ask me. They are involved in everything. He might not be the most popular character, but he's extremely important. He's like one of the linchpins of the Marvel universe. He was the kid that Bruce Banner tried to rescue to become the Incredible Hulk. So I find that it very unusual that he is not part of the MCU. So maybe that might be an introduction to him. Maybe they can make him into Captain Marvel. Who knows? Or the male Captain Marvel, or whatever version of that. So there's also Shang-Chi and the Legend of the Ten Rings, which is something I know absolutely nothing about. But I'm looking forward to it because it is something new. Doctor Strange in the Multiverse of Madness, which I'm very much looking forward to. Sam Raimi is directing that, and
Yeah, that's like the one Marvel movie I might actually tune into because it's weird
yeah,
Lovecraftian shenanigans and it's Sam Raimi.
and it's also the multiverse stuff. There is potential for them to bring in all kinds of stuff from like the X-Men universe.
I want to see Shumagorath.
Exactly. Dormammu was in the first one.
Well, Dormammu, I mean, he should be. He's like the main Doctor Strange guy.
Yeah, yeah. Spider-Man: No Way Home, which I am really looking forward to. The Spider-Man movies
How
have
many
been
titles can we
fantastic.
make that have home in them?
Well, probably the last
4.
one. But this one is the one that's supposed to have all of the previous Spider-Man, like Peter Parkers, in it, which is awesome.
Oh, that's cool.
So yeah, with Tobey Maguire and Andrew Garfield and all that. So I am
All right, yeah,
really
I
looking
might
forward to
tune
that.
into this one as well.
Yeah, it's just cool. Ant-Man and the Wasp: Quantumania, which I don't
It's
know what they're
pronounced
going to do.
Quadrophenia.
Thor: Love and Thunder, which I'm actually really looking forward to that one too, because Natalie Portman's slated to become Thor, and I think Chris Hemsworth is considered Odin now, even though everybody calls him Thor. He has taken
Well,
up.
he's got one eye. That means he's Odin.
No, but
Even though he did not get all the world's knowledge, he just is missing an eye.
well, but he's taken on basically the form of Odin. You know, he is the leader of Asgard. So he has the archetype that Odin did now, and he doesn't have his. I think he no, he got
Now he gets to be a shitty parent to an
hammer.
adopted son.
And the final one, which I'm the most looking forward to, is Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3. Guardians of the Galaxy is my favorite sub-franchise of the MCU. Both movies are fantastic, and I thought the second one was even better than the first. I really love this series, and it's creator led, which is mostly what I like about it. I mean, James Gunn has a lot of like creative control over
Yeah.
this, and they let him because it's that good. And he says it's going to be the last one that he makes. And Dave Bautista said it's going to be the last one he makes. So it's probably going to be the last time he is Drax. So and Dave Bautista stated that he can no longer. He is afraid he might not be able to keep up the physique.
I mean,
Drax.
it's brutal.
Yeah, I mean, he is a monster.
Yeah, like even as a wrestler, like he has to be huge to be Drax.
He's entering into his 50s. There's no way that he can keep that muscle mass going for much.
Yeah.
So like he's just gonna get old. I mean, you can't do it. And also, I'm just dropping this in here for kicks. Do not take this seriously. There's a rumor going around that HBO has a Bloodborne series in the works. I don't know about that.
Yeah, good luck making it feel authentic, where like you don't know what the story is and you pick up things through flavor text and the lore. Like they're either gonna have to make the series more accessible, which will kind of lose some of what makes Bloodborne.
Yeah.
Or they'll maintain the spirit of it, which makes a show that nobody wants to watch.
Yeah, you'll just watch it and be fucking confused the entire time.
Yeah, it's like, why? What is happening?
Yeah,
there's no dialogue.
You'll have to. It'll basically be like watching Twin Peaks, which is like you don't know what's going on, and everybody has to talk about it in a forum in order to figure out what the fuck is going on.
And if they have an original story, so you can't just play the game to figure it out, then everyone's gonna be confused.
I am calling bullshit on this because I think if any platform can make a good version of this, it would be HBO. So I'm not. HBO somehow made a good sequel to Watchmen without the original creator.
Yeah.
One of the original creators, yes, they had Dave Gibbons there, the artist, but they didn't have Alan Moore.
Was it like the movie where the credits said like co-written by Dave Gibbons, and you're like, well, who's the other guy? There's nothing.
Well, I think Alan Moore does get credit.
Okay, because he wanted his name out of the Watchmen movie, so it was just like co-written by one guy. And you're like, what?
I think he gets credit as like the creator of the characters.
Sure.
Or something like that. But Dave Gibbons was an executive producer on that series, so it is not without its lineage, but it's still amazing that they were able to pull off what they did because it was amazing. I thought it was really, really good. But I just don't get the feeling that like From Software would allow it.
Well, not to mention though, like Bloodborne isn't exactly like I mean, Bloodborne has a very hardcore following, but it's not the kind of thing that I could imagine would be like this mainstream release that everybody jumps on. Like that's the video game series that they're gonna make a TV show about, not like something that everybody's playing.
Yeah, and I know I'm gonna get crucified for saying this, but like exclusive titles are kind of cult titles. Like console exclusive titles are kind of culty titles because
except for Mario, I guess.
Well, yeah, I mean, my point is like are so many people you are missing by having only on one platform.
That's the thing. Like you could more easily do a Dark Souls series, especially because it's an actual series and there's room to make a TV series. You could have one of the cycles, whatever. Yeah. It's fine. But Bloodborne is more fun in terms of like a crazy horror show. But yeah, that's PS4 only. So many people are missing out.
I mean, Sekiro could even be a better like has a
that was released on everything. Yeah,
has a broader audience than Bloodborne does because Bloodborne was an early title for PS4, and only PS4. So I know everybody talks about it, but it still is a cult.
Yeah, in a manner of speaking. Yeah, everybody in the circles we follow talks about it.
Exactly, but if you probably look at sales, it's not going to rival something that is released on everything. It's not going to rival, an Assassin's Creed game, for instance. It's just not, because it has no chance. But anyway, I think that's it. I mean, we ran long here, but we talked about all good stuff. Do you have anything else that you wanted
Yeah,
to mention?
two quick things.
Please.
One, last week we mentioned that Humble Bundle changed, so
Oh
a
yes.
maximum of 15% can go to charity, and everything else would go, I guess, to the devs or whatever. They rolled that back. They were like, oh well, upon reviewing user feedback, we realized this and that. Like that's obviously a bunch of bullshit. They just didn't expect to get the amount of actual backlash, I think, with people probably unsubscribing that they got.
Yeah.
So they apologized for that, and they said, "Oh, we'll roll back and review this kind of thing in the future." But like, I want their fucking parent company to apologize, not Humble Bundle. I doubt it was their decision to contradict their whole reason for existing. But hey, at least they backpedaled. The
Leave
other
It to a
thing,
Corporation did not understand the heart and soul of something that they are trying to peddle.
yeah, it's embarrassing. I see thing make money. I buy thing, and then they learn what it is later. The other thing is that for the upcoming SGDQ Summer Games Done Quick, the schedule has been released. So there's a bunch of games that I'm quite excited to see. Mischief Makers I haven't seen in years. There's a giant Castlevania block. There's a four-way Super Metroid 100% race.
Oh, neat.
I'm particularly excited about Metal Wolf Chaos XD. They haven't done
Cool.
Metal Wolf Chaos since 2014, which is before that game was localized. So like they were playing it on Xbox. It's still in English except for like text, but you're going to see it run more smoothly this time around. I'm very excited to see that game come back because it
Let
has been a long time.
Let's party.
Let's party! And they're doing a cutscene percentage just like last time because like I mean let's be real, the game's kind of fun to watch, but you want to see it for the stupid cutscenes because they're hysterical. Like you enter the New York level and then Richard shows up, Michael, Richard, but like Richard shows up going, hello, 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 and you're like, what? Like that was the delivery. All right, fine.
I mean,
There's so much goofy shit like that. I'm just very excited.
it should also be noted that like amongst the hardcore mecha games that From Software has produced over the years, this one is so much easier to play than most of them.
Yeah, this is a much more casual one. You're not customizing your mech. The closest you can come to that is your weapon loadout, and you don't have like a weight requirement or anything. But like an Armored Core, you choose the legs, you choose the core, you choose the arms, you choose the head. Do you have radar? Do you have shoulder mounted weapons? Are your arms guns? What kind of legs do you have? Like there's so much shit, and there's a burden, there's like a weapon weight, there's body weight. Can
I
your
mean, there
legs
were people
hold
that
the weapons you're carrying?
just played the Armored Core games just because of the customization. It was just that was what they played it
Yeah, like,
for.
but you gotta. But the point is, you gotta pay close attention to what you're doing and what your
Hmm.
proper loadout should be for this particular mission. With Metal Wolf Chaos, to a degree, you need to pay attention to your loadout. Like maybe you're better off with snipers, maybe you're better off with machine guns. But there's no weight thing, and your mech is what it is. You can unlock skins for it, but that's as far as we go. Just play the level, have fun.
Yeah,
So
this game
yeah,
is much more accessible and much more arcadey than the other games that you're used to from them.
yes, and
Um,
very goofy.
yeah, I recommend it, especially as an entry point to their mecha games, and also I think it's just a fun game to play on its own casually
Yeah,
because it's so
just
much
blow
fun.
stuff up. Like some of the later levels can get like actually hard, but early game it just feels good.
I mean, the final boss is the White House, right? Like basically.
No, that's the second to last one.
Oh
The
yeah, the
final one is in a
penultimate
space
boss.
station. It's like a big mech, but yeah, the White House is loaded with guns. What? This is the White House? Maybe we should call it the Fight House. Like
And
yes.
then that's what the
Yeah, the boss
energy
health
bar
bar comes
says
over to this says Fight
is
House.
called says Fight House. It's,
There's actually a White House and a Fight House health bar. Like if you throw explosives all over it, you could blow up the actual White House and fail the mission.
oh boy, so you're only supposed to attack the weapons,
Yeah, like hit it hard, but don't full on bazooka it.
huh? Hilarious. All right, well, that will be the show for this week. Please remember to subscribe to the Corrective Consciousness YouTube and SoundCloud pages. You got a lot for your money this week.
Yeah, look at that.
While there, please give us thumbs ups, likes, and 5-star ratings on iTunes. It helps promote and spread awareness of the show, and if any bit of encouragement helps keep the show going. You can also catch us on Thursday for our sister podcast, Corrective Consciousness, where we will be going over those nemesis. Finally, you can friend me as vysethebold on pretty much anything. Just PM, DM, whatever, to let me know who you are and how you know me.
And you can follow me on my YouTube channel, Lotus Prince. You can hit me up on Twitter at Lotus Prince. And finally, if you are interested in seeing my videos early, selecting upcoming games for me to Let's Play, getting on exclusive live streams, say out of order this time, or get in conversations with me and other patrons on Discord, then perhaps consider swinging by my Patreon account, which can be found at patreon.com/LotusPrince.
Okay, wonderful. We will catch you on Thursday then.
Until next time, everyone.
Bye-bye.